All right, guys, Freddie Fabricate here again. Today I got a pretty cool project for you guys. It's a 1982 ATC 110. I got it for like 300 something bucks. I think 350, something like that. The thing is basically a wreck. The frame was bent, twisted and bent. The gas tank's leaking. The original engine's been taken out, and it's got a Chinese 125 engine in it. None of the motor mounts fit. For some reason, I thought they bolt in, but they basically rigged up something just to hold the engine in place. Shift lever was gone. Kickstarter was broken and just had a stub on it. Front headlight broken off. Tires. I got the front tires holding air, believe it or not too bad. The two back tires are not. So my plan is to switch out the rear hubs to TRX hubs with the 4-bolt wheel pattern, and actually have a set of aluminum tires and rims to put on there. I'm going to put a little hand shifter on it. I got to fix the gas tank. I ordered like a cafe racer type seat. Some foot pegs. The bike had no foot pegs. I'm going to put some custom aluminum foot pegs on it, and I think that's about it. Man, maybe a little paint. Oh, we'll see how it goes. Okay, so here's the bike. You can see I switched out the hubs already. I basically got a Z50 Kickstarter. Went on there, I tried to get it as short as possible. It doesn't interfere with the rear tires. The good thing about putting these hubs is that it does space it out about an inch per side, so that might help clear it. I got the chain lined up finally. You can see here, looks pretty good. Here we go. Basically, this whole sheet metal frame on these bikes, this one was bent here and twisted. So what I did was I took this big ratchet strap here. I strapped it from the rear axle to the front fork. I turned the forks back like this all the way, and I loosened all the bolts. I took the whole drum apart like this. Pull these off first, sorry. Pull this out, pull the whole drum out, got to the 3 bolts that hold the carrier in place. So loosened everything up, pulled it forward. I actually had to go forward an inch, guys. That's how twisted this frame was. The bike basically wouldn't even move because the chain was so crooked on there and so much slack, as you could see. So I was trying to come up with an idea to mount the chain tensioner here, but I actually changed my mind. I'm going to cut and weld the original shaft and then weld the chain tensioner back on, and then we'll tighten it chain from this side like the original did. For now, I'm going to put back the drum brakes and everything like that. I love to show you guys this seat, no rear plastics, basically seat and seat pan. So it's definitely a little lighter than when it came out of the factory in 1982. So we're going to be ripping this off. Yeah, that was easy. Ripping this one off. And I basically ordered a cafe racer seat that I'm going to figure out how to mount on here. For now, I'm going to do without the rear plastics just to get it going. I got a little skull shift knob that I'm going to put right here. I'm going to basically make it a hand shifter. So you have left clutch, right hand shifter with the thumb throttle, and I gotta fix this gas tank. So they put some dumb stuff on here, and it's leaking. It's holding gas, you know, enough to use it for now, but it's definitely got a drip. It did some brazing down on the bottom here that seems to be holding, so I'll probably sand this off and just give this seam right here a shot of braze. It'll drain the tank of gas, go from there. You can see here, they basically used, you know, some all thread going through a hole that they drilled here because it couldn't quite make it to the original mount. And up here, it's a little low because the carburetor is hitting the frame. I actually bought 2 separate intakes trying to spin it out of the way, and they both didn't clear. So my next option was to cut and weld the aluminum, or to just make up a little extension on this, weld them down, and just be done with it. I'm probably gonna go this route. It's a lot easier. Then I gotta pull this exhaust header back, pop that under there, cut, re-weld this down, and I got a little muffler coming. I'm gonna try to keep it nice and short and out of the way down here. And that's about it. In the future, I'd love to do a little disc brake in here and a disc brake on the rear. I actually have a rotor for it already. That was in my junk pile, and I could get rid of all this crap, foot pedal and all this junk for the drum brake, and just put a disc. But one thing at a time. Alright guys, so we're chugging away here. I got the wiring kind of tucked up. I'll clean it up a little bit more before I finalize everything. I got the motor mounts all done. I got the chain tensioner welded on this side, still adjustable on the other side. I basically had to cut all of this off, make up this bushing in the lathe, and then weld this to the bushing. And I basically made up a new end of the shaft here. I welded it to the bolt to extend it and then cut it down to the right diameter in the lathe. So now we have our chain tensioner. Seems to be pretty good right now. And I made up spacers for the tank. I had to space it up about 1.5 inches. I'm not positive if it's going to stay there. I might lower it back down. Depending on what I do with the tank, I'm going to be cutting and redesigning this back. It's leaking anyway on the other side, so I'll make that a nice finish going into the seat. I basically made up a little plate right here. That's going to bolt right there. And then I'm just going to put a piece of round tubing, maybe a little support rib in the middle, welded to the back of the frame. And I made this little angle iron here for the front mounts for the seat. So that's going to look roughly like that when it's done. Next up is the exhaust. The bike came with this tailpipe, with this header pipe, excuse me. It has a nice little heat shield on it. It's not a bad fit. It's just aimed up in the air. So I'm making a little pie cut right here. And then I found some EMT electrical tubing that I'm going to try to weld to there. I think I'm going to cut off a little piece of this end that I forgot to tell you guys about. I bought one of these cheap mufflers on eBay, and these things really are junk. Came missing rivets. It does have a screen in there to make it a spark arrestor, and it actually has no way to mechanically attach it to anything. But it's such a tight fit over this pipe. It's actually a beautiful fit. So what I think I'm going to do is just cut off a piece of this pipe, weld it to the EMT pipe, and just make it a snug fit in the back here where I mount it. There's a hole here already. I might use that or just drill it out, tap it, or just weld a little nut or something. Haven't come up with the idea yet, but I'll be there shortly. With this EMT, it has galvanized coating on it. You want to just take it back a little bit, and if you can, wear a mask when you weld it. Releases some nasty vapors that are pretty toxic. Alright, so I made the one pie cut, like I said. I basically cut about 1/8 of an inch out in the pie shape, and then I bent the pipe back down. I made up my piece of galvanized, and then I went back into another short piece of this so it fit tight into the pipe. And here, just weld the nut into bushing onto the frame, and should be good to go. Alright, so nothing's easy on this build here, guys. Yep. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it, right? Alright, anyway, I got my exhaust up here. Gonna kind of just go quick past the welds because they don't look so great. I'm Operation Warp Speed here, trying to get this done as fast as possible because I have the 2 toughest customers in the world hounding me for it, and that would be Leah and Derek, my kids. So trying to get it done by this weekend. But anyway, so onto the foot pegs. This bike came with a bar going across, just a steel bar with some weld on it. It's really horrendous. Did have a nice skid plate though. Unfortunately, none of the holes line up from the Chinese engine to the ATC 90. As you can see here, the skid plate holes are correct for this engine. The holes on the ATC 110, which are these, do not line up. So I'm gonna see if I could weld them closed, grind them down, and just drill new ones. You know, if I do anything else, it's gonna kind of be offset and not look so great, so I'm going to do it the right way. Alright guys, so we've moved on to the headlight on the ATC 110. I have bits and pieces of the old headlight here. I was able to make up some screws for the adjusters, and I got a spring that seems to be working pretty good. Over here, I just had to tap the 3 screws that hold the housing on. If you could see here though, unfortunately I'm missing one of the brackets, but I have an idea to make it up with a piece of angle iron, and I'll just put 2 screws through the top and it should look okay. And the only other thing I had to do, not sure if you could see in there or not, is weld this subframe. This side had cracked. I just had to weld it back together. But other than that, we're in pretty good shape. So I cleaned the paint off both of these brackets. I was gonna bolt it on, but I really don't see any benefit to it. Plus, if I actually bolt this flat, it's not at such a great angle to bolt to the top of the plastic headlight housing. I need it to be angled like that. Hopefully you can see this on camera. So I've decided to just raise it up to where I need it, tilt it forward, and weld it. And then these are the 2 bolts I came up with. I'll probably change these out. I'm going to weld the nuts on the bottom. They're just 1/4-20 screws, socket heads, and then I'm going to change them out on top to probably like a button head, so it looks nice and flush. not gonna lie, guys. I bought this setup about 5 years ago. This little right angle attachment that uses hex drives, as you can see here. And then I bought a small set of hex drive drill bits. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I have no idea why I bought them, but they finally came in handy. So I needed to get inside the headlight housing and at least drill a pilot hole like this. It's very hard for me to do holding the camera, but as you can see, I put it in there like that, got it centered with 2 hands, and then started drilling, and it worked out perfect.